Stories from the danger zone. We're talking to a Tomcat pilot today in the hangar. Welcome to In the Hangar. I'm Christy Wong.
And I'm Dan Milliken. In the Hangar is sponsored by Flying Eyes. They make great glasses. And also Colton Mortgage. Go to Colton Taking Off to find out about your residential mortgage or your refi needs. These guys actually care and will answer your questions. So Christy, how old were you when Top Gun came out?
I was quite young.
Coloring crayon?
Yeah,
age?
I was basically, coloring crayons, because that movie came out, late 90s, or late 80s?
Yeah,
80s.
late 80s. So yeah. I had just graduated college, so just, entering my mid-20s.
You are quite older than I am.
Okay, well, so we won't go there, but Top Gun had a huge impact in my life and the people around it, because, loving aviation, it was just such a cool movie to see.
It was actually. I remember watching it when I was very little even, and remembering the impact it had on me. But I didn't grow up going, I want to do that. We do have somebody here with us today that did go that route.
So Rick, thank you so much for coming and be a part of the show.
Thank you.
Rick
You're welcome.
is a real live Tomcat pilot, which, by the way, is kind of like a dying breed in a sense that there's
dead.
No new ones.
Correct.
It's dead. It's not dying, it's dead.
It's not dying.
So take us into, how Top Gun impacted you.
All right. Well, I was a Maritime Academy student at the time in 86, and went to the movie not really knowing anything about, or not necessarily knowing anything about the movie specifically, but always having a desire that flying as a potential phenomenal experience, but being a pilot itself. And coming out of the movie with a extreme sense of, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. That was really the mojo from in my brain, wanting to continue in this process. Also by the fact that the Academy itself had a kind of a lead into the option to join the Navy and be a pilot itself, going through that process. So that was immediate out of the movie, like, oh my God, I could do this. This is something that I'd like to do, and just kind of blew my mind.
So you walked out of the movie and into the recruiter's office.
No.
Which is what the Navy wanted when they
Yeah,
helped with that movie.
exactly.
Actually, I didn't. I came out of the movie and I mulled over, because I was a sophomore at the time, 3 full years to go, and I thought to myself, over that 3-year period, was what should I be doing here? Should I go the Navy, which is, when you consider as a young man what you want to do in the future, income-wise and security-wise, and all sorts of different issues that you need to consider, the Navy was not necessarily this is a absolute guarantee. It was more it'd be phenomenal, but I'm not sure. So I was kind of mulling it back and forth, going in the shipping industry or do the naval career path. And finally, at the very, I'm not kidding, at the end game, where my recruiter guy at this school basically sat me down and said, "Hey, listen, boss, you better make a decision. What are you going to do? Because we're pulling the plug on you if you don't make that critical, timely decision." So I said, at that time I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go to the Navy," and I signed up and I got accepted. Which is kind of amazing in itself, but. Accepted the Naval Flight Program and continued schooling and finished that, and then followed up with the naval career.
Okay, so you went into the F-14 Tomcats?
Oh, how do you watch Top Gun? I would think that they take a very select few people.
I was going to say.
Well, that's a total story. If you want me to go into that.
Okay.
Yeah,
How did you get into the Tomcats?
All right, so the process of going through the training program itself, be it the initial entry level, the medium, the middle level, to this final stage of training, at that time there was a 3-stage process, and those are 3 separate airplanes you'd be introduced to and learn to fly and hopefully, progress. Upon which the final completion of the training on that third airplane, you are then go through a ceremony of winging, and you're now a winged aviator in the Navy. Upon that ceremony, you are given an option prior to this ceremony. You're given the option to select what airplane you want to fly. My selection was not F-14s.
Oh,
My top selection was F-18s.
Right.
okay.
And it was, I think it was West Coast, F-18 East Coast, A6 West Coast, A6 East Coast, F-14 West Coast, F-14 East Coast. So it was the fifth choice.
Oh, wow.
And the reason, even though back in the day when I was like, oh my God, this Top Gun is rock, this is the best, I want to be a pilot. It was the idea was that airplane, from my experiences in the training facility, through training cycles, was, hey, that airplane is a death sentence.
Oh.
And the reasoning was specific to the landing aboard the carrier. It's a highly swept wing, 72 feet wide. The landing environment on an aircraft carrier is very limited, and so any deviation of that center line could be significantly disastrous. So my fear of the F-14 being so wide, so wing swept wise, basically directed me into the concept of the F-18, the A6, and also the single seat concept that was those airplanes, single seat, vice 2 seats. But anyway, I got, upon graduation, I'm sitting up on the stadium with my mom on one side, my dad on the other. They say, Ensign Lucas, or Lieutenant J.G. Lucas, your select is Tomcats West.
Oh.
And I'm not kidding you. I sat there, I stood there with my mom and dad, and I went sheet white. My mom's looking at me going, are you okay? And I turned to her, I didn't say it. I kept my face forward and standing straight up, and I said, I'm dead.
Oh, no.
So that was, I'm not kidding, this is exactly how this went down. Subsequently, we had a huge party and just went crazy, but it was fun. But the idea was, okay, well, I've got to fly Tomcats now, and I'm fearful of that because of the airplane itself.
Wow.
However, going through the training of the Tomcat and then going to the fleet and flying off the carrier as a deployed aviator to the Persian Gulf twice, it was it came to be that, hey, this isn't terrible. The landing takeoff part is not this significant of any significant concern. It's just more of a, hey, just get it done, do it right. And so we had goods and bads, good landings, bad landings. That's.
Well, you had a bad landing in particular that we want to talk about today.
Well, I wouldn't call it a landing.
Okay. Well, you were able to log a takeoff that day,
That's
but
correct.
you were not able
As
to
a
log
matter
the
of fact,
landing.
in my flight book, there is no landing associated with that.
Okay.
That flight.
I always wondered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear about.
All right. Well, it was a 14 days thereabouts between San Diego and Hawaii. We were on my first deployment to the Persian Gulf in '94.
Aboard which?
Carl Vinson.
Okay, the Coffins.
And the Discovery crew was on board. So they wanted to do some filming on the deck of some aircraft flying by, supersonic. And they chose the Tomcat to be part of that process. And I got selected, amazingly, to be a pilot for that mission with my commanding officer as well. So we...
He was in the backseat?
he was the other airplane. It was a two-ship.
Other airplane, okay.
Okay. So myself and my Rio, Jeff Strobel, rat face, cool. He and I were in one airplane. My commanding officer was another. We launched on that mission, that cycle, if you will, and flew around, did our AIC work, and then came back to the ship very prior to the recovery. And the plan was, as the brief was conducted, that we would fly by the ship individually, staged by a minute or two, and then come back and join up and fly by as a section. So we're behind the ship, a number of miles, about 10,000 feet or so, just hanging out, waiting for our cycle for this to start. and my CO started his run. I waited a minute or two, followed him shortly thereafter. And out of the 10,000 feet, I'm coming down, we're, gaining airspeed. The whole plan was to go supersonic by the ship, staging the afterburner. And as we were coming aboard, abeam the ship, directly abeam the ship, the right engine blew up. It disintegrated.
Wow.
Like
But that's okay. You got 2 engines, right?
Yes, correct. Good point. Well, so internally, I didn't know the engine had
Right.
crapped. All I felt was as if we went through some jet wash, like a little shuffle. And then subsequently thereafter, immediately, there was lights all over the place. And so I'm like, whoa, leave my God. But I mean, a minute or a second later after that, my perception was I had felt the aircraft do an uncommanded wing rock of I can't remember, left or right. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I got to counter that, and I'm putting a stick input into it to counter it to wings level. But the stick was literally frozen solid. There was not a millimeter of movement. It was locked solid.
Oh, so you had a flight control jam.
Correct.
Oh my goodness.
Now, here I'm in the cockpit where we hit 1.02 Mach. The engine quit, blew up. The lights came on. The oral tone engine stall came on. So we had an awareness that there's an engine stall, and the turbulent effect countered by the wing dip, countered by my input and recognition of locked stick, was a complete, holy mackerel, we're in a significant issue we have now. And my Rio in the back is trying to communicate with me, saying, hey, you got it? And I'm kind of getting a keying back to him, stand by, trying to assess the situation, because I didn't know what was going on exactly. We had engine stall, yes, but, and I could see the gauge.
And at this moment, what's your speed?
Well, at the initial 1.02
Right,
Mach is
right.
what the theory is.
Okay. So you're still speed of sound?
Well, immediately it's going to drop.
Right, okay.
Because you have a huge drag coefficient of
Yeah, okay.
that engine, no thrust. So the subsequent to that was the kind of a 17 seconds from start to finish period where I'm trying to get control of the airplane. My Rio's basically trying to assess what the situation is up front with me. I'm trying to relay back to him on, I think it was 2 times, I stand by, trying to get awareness and control of the airplane. 0, no control whatsoever. And then on the radio we hear, hey, it looks like you guys are on fire.
Oh gosh.
So I hear that. It's really the only thing I hear from the radio, because my Rio has been talking to the air boss. Hey, send the helos our way, because he knew there was an issue. And I hear that, and I look in my rearview mirrors up on the canopy, and I see flame on the aft of the aircraft. I turn my head, I look over my shoulder, and I see the airplane has flame on the back. And I said I keyed the mic. I said, "We're on fire. Eject, eject, eject." Pulled the handle, and we go. That whole process is another story that goes with it. But bottom line, we survived. He got hurt with a clavicle break in his shoulder, and that was the story.
At what altitude did you eject?
Roughly 5,000 feet.
Oh, so
and the
pretty high.
speed,
Okay.
you asked about the speed.
Yeah.
We assessed based on the data that we could get, because we couldn't recover the airplane. It was in the ocean, midway between San Diego and Hawaii.
Right.
The speed was assessed to be 2 to 250 knots, so much slower and much more survivable, because it.
Yeah, I was thinking, you guys
Mach
must have
1,
been 500 or 600 knots. How did you?
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no option, no survival. So that was what happened.
What's it like to eject out of an aircraft like
Well,
that?
it's you know, it's not something you can actually look back and go, okay, this is what happened, and this is. But the only thing I can really remember specifically is I can recall the keying the mic and calling for the ejection, eject, pulling the handle, and I can remember seeing some white smoke, if you will, or mist from the canopy eject process And I don't remember anything. I can't remember or recall a visual leaving of the airplane at all. But the only thing I can really recall is the actual opening shock of the parachute from the risers of my harness, and I'm jolted, and I'm like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" So I'm looking up, seeing
Real quiet all of a sudden.
seeing the parachute, and being ecstatic because I've survived.
Were you scared?
Great question, and the answer is not yet.
Okay.
It's 17 seconds.
Because I'm sure there's a fear factor that hits you immediately, like, oh my God, what's going on? And they're trying to assess the situation over those 17 seconds. But the ejection it's not something you think about. It's not like, oh, am I going to survive this? Should I do this or should I not? It's just it's a go.
It was like primacy. Your training kicked in, and you just did it.
More or less. It's like I had no control of the airplane. It was on fire. What option do I have?
Right.
It was more of just an instant decision. And that's how it worked.
What did the Navy say about your decision?
They said they were, I'd have to read the report to get more data because it's been many years, but they basically said, okay, you had an engine failure, you proceeded with the ejection. It looks like the causal factors were obvious and well associated with the effects of the ejection itself for the reasons of that purpose.
So in other words, you made the right call.
Well, yes. Now, many people can say, "Hey, you should have waited. You should have tried. Were your rudders working?" Well, yeah, maybe. Well, what are those going to be doing for me? But literally, when you have no control of an airplane from a yaw, sticking rudder.
You can quickly get into an attitude where you can't eject.
Exactly. True. Well, you can always eject as long as there's not water below you.
Okay.
Right there. But you can inject inverted if you need to. But the point was, the assessment was, hey, because I was back in the air 2 days later.
Okay.
So they cleared me based on the situation and the assessment of the actual incident. And so I was cleared to go back to flying status, and the subsequent assessment and investigation was also positive as well. So, you could look back and go, okay, well, you should have done this and this and this and this, and I'm sure there's many things that could have been done differently, but it worked out.
What led to the stick being frozen?
Well, in theory, the idea, because they didn't recover the airplane entirely, they got pieces. The theory was that the engine, as it disintegrated, it based on unknown reasons, but there's a theory that it threw the blades, and it cut the hydraulic lines.
Oh.
That makes
And
sense.
it either fused them or it just
Sealed them.
Sealed them, whatever the case may be, but it rendered the stick useless. But it's frozen. It wasn't like just, oh, it doesn't work. It's like, and I was using both hands, tugging on this thing, trying to get any movement at all, none.
Wow.
In your Rio?
Rio?
No,
Jeff Strobel? Yeah.
Yeah. How you returned 2 days later? How about him?
No, he did not. He had to wait out for quite a while,
the clavicle.
6 to 9 months. It was pretty unfortunate for him. Yes, it was very bad.
What were the after effects for you?
Great question. My after effect was good. Here's an interesting story.
Okay.
So the day of, I go down to the med bay. Doctor does a review of me. He's checking me out. He takes a break. He goes, "Okay, hang tight. Stay here. We don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stay here in the med bay." I did. I sat there on the table, and I'm 2 hours probably. But during that period of time, there's a period of time where I do this uncontrollable shake for about 10 to 15 seconds. And then it stops. And it cycles for about 1 hour, on and off for 1 hour. So to answer your question, what?
Is that adrenaline?
It was a traumatic event.
Okay.
And so whatever, any doctors here?
Not even-
Any doctors can hit it right on the top. But based on the injury of or the traumatic event, not necessarily an injury like a brain damage or any
Right.
sort, just something of heightened of insanity in your post reaction. I guess I don't know. How you,
Gotcha. So you continued out your flying career with the Navy.
Correct.
Okay.
Did you ever move to F-18s?
No.
So you always were F-14s.
Correct.
When did they phase out the F-14s? And why?
I think it was in 2002 or well, is that right? 2000 maybe 11, 11 or 12.
2011?
Is that right?
I don't know.
I honestly don't know. I can't remember.
Oh, so they were still flying them hot and heavy when you left?
Let me think about that. I think actually it was in 2012 or 11 or 12 or 10 or 11, 12.
I thought it was sooner, but maybe.
We'll have to go to the Google and find out.
Go to the Google.
Okay. So did you continue flying after your Navy career?
Yes. So I put my resignation in, had my applications in with the commercial airliners, American, United, and some other.
Delta?
Yeah, and Delta, thank you. And had interviews with American and United and got accepted by American, so I continued my aviation career with American Airlines.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
Flying what?
Well, initially, I was a 727 flight
Oh,
engineer,
wow. Okay.
sitting sideways in the back.
That must have been like the last 727.
It was,
Okay.
and but a great job. And then I went to the MD-80.
Okay.
I seat MD-80, and then I flew. Most recently was the 7576.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you still with American?
I am.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a separate story, though. I'll tell you later.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back then. Awesome. Well, Rick, thank you so much for coming on and sharing an amazing story.
Yeah, it was. But to go back to your question about did it change you? I think you asked me something.
I just said, what was your after
Yeah,
effects?
after effect.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Discovery program, who was filming on the carrier the day of, and has it on film, so you can go look at that. Carrier Fortress at Sea. They came back my second deployment in '96, and they were filming further post, not necessarily post accident, but just post, a couple years later. And I remember being in that interview with the gentleman doing a walk around of the airplane pre-flight, and they were asking me questions, and my mindset at that time, this is again second deployment, now my third year in squadron, and I was like, this is people who are scared of flying. They're just weak, and I was all manly, but that was just absurd because I look back on it and I go, that was just absurd. My mindset.
I think what you were doing, you were probably overcompensating.
Exactly.
It was probably a culture among fighter pilots.
Possibly.
I think I legitimately
that's a guarantee. Yeah. We were all a little bit.
But he was overcompensating.
Did you ever watch the beach volleyball scene in Top Gun?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's what when you said that, I immediately went.
Yeah.
visual
Well,
there.
that's a good point. Very well spoken.
Good to know that that's where your brain goes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that's a great.
Okay. Last question.
Yes, sir.
You told us what your Rio's call sign. What was your call sign?
At the time.
Yeah.
Biscuit.
Biscuit. Biscuits in the water.
Oh my goodness.
That's the name of this episode. Biscuits in the water.
I can't take you anywhere.
Oh, you should have done for the hook. Have you ever lost your biscuits?
Oh my goodness.
All right.
It should have been cookies, like tossing your cookies.
No, but tossing your biscuit.
Tossing your biscuit, that works
Taking the
too.
biscuit to the house.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
All right, we keep going for a while, but
We could. Well, thank you again.
wait. I'm sorry. I got to follow. We got a little rapid. Your call sign was biscuit.
Yes.
I know from talking to other military people, you never select your own call sign. It's selected for
Correct.
you, and there's a story.
Yes. All right. So biscuit came from when I joined the squadron in the simulator. They gave me a cold catapult shot as a training event. It was,
Don't we all go through that?
Yeah, it was a nighttime scenario, and upon the recognition and the departure of the actual deck of the carrier, this is again the simulator, I had staged afterburner, and I actually survived. And as we flying away, I said that was a biscuit, and the guy who was my sim instructor said, Biscuit? Okay, your call sign is Biscuit. And that's how that came about.
So you're just making up like sayings
Yeah,
now.
I don't know where that came from. No idea.
I was going to say, I'd like to
Yeah.
point out that never took off. I don't think anybody's ever said that phrase since.
Yeah, that exactly.
You did not create a new fad.
That's correct.
We could here today, though.
Yeah,
right.
that was
Well,
quite a biscuit.
That was quite a biscuit.
Yeah, I feel like a kind of a young individual. But that's all right.
All right. Well, thank you so much
You're
again
welcome.
for joining
Yes,
us. That
ma'am.
was a great story.
All right.
All right, you guys. Well, have you ever had an event where you can say that was quite a biscuit? If so, leave your comments below. We really appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. So like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time
In the hangar.
in the biscuit.
I almost said that.
Ah.
All right. Cool. I'm so glad you could come